this trial provided quite a bit of drama. And Dave, I mean, I know it's personal for you because you were friends with the victim. Just as a refresher for the audience who might not have been paying attention to it, the victim was shot and killed. He'd been married to a woman named Wendy Adelson, and they had 2 sons, and they lived in Tallahassee. And she really wanted to move down south in Florida to be closer to her mom. And the husband didn't want it. Her mom, Donna, the woman who's on trial. The husband did not want it, Daniel. He said, no, I want to stay in Tallahassee where I'm a college professor, and I don't want you to take our boys down there either. And then the grandmother just received an unfavorable ruling from a judge up in Tallahassee saying, either preventing her from seeing them unsupervised, but it was something limiting her ability to see the sons, or her grandsons in the way she wanted. And before you knew it, the decedent, Daniel Markel, was killed. He was murdered. And it turned out he was murdered by 2 hitmen. 2 hitmen who were hired by this woman. And this woman had been dating / working part-time for the murder victim's wife's brother. So what the evidence has shown is that Wendy appears to have, she's been accused, she's the only one who hasn't been formally charged, but it certainly looks like Wendy, and definitely Wendy's mother, Donna, wanted Dan dead. And one of them, the jury has just said Donna, went through her son, Charlie, who is the brother of Wendy, went through her son and said, go have Wendy's husband killed. So Charlie did it. Charlie had his girlfriend, said, do you know any bad actors? She said, I know these 2 guys. They hired them. They killed him. And those 2 guys are in jail, one for life, the one who cooperated for 19 years. The woman who hired them, who'd been sort of dating the brother, she's in jail for life. The brother, Charlie, is in jail for life. And now finally, the prosecutors turned around and they're not yet at Wendy, the wife. They went after the mom, Donna. And Donna just had a very bad day in court as the verdict was read. Here you go, SOP 46.
We, the jury, find as follows as to count 1 of the indictment, first-degree murder. The defendant is guilty of first-degree murder. Mrs. Adelson, control yourself. Count 2. We, the jury, find as follows as to count 2 of the indictment, conspiracy to commit first-degree murder. The defendant is guilty of conspiracy to commit first-degree murder. Count 3. We, the jury, find as follows as to count 3 of the indictment, solicitation to commit first-degree murder. The defendant is guilty of solicitation to commit first-degree murder.
She's wailing and bending over.
And it is signed and dated by the foreperson. One moment. Members of the jury, the bailiff will escort you to the jury room.
All right, Dave. Guilty on all counts. Donna Adelson goes down. Are you surprised?
No. Megyn, this was an easy one for those of us who filed the case. And the jury got it right in 3.5 hours, which is about the same amount of time they took to convict Charlie, the victim's brother-in-law. The apple doesn't fall far from the tree. Both of them were so cocky. They thought they can get away with murder, and now they're both in prison for life. Next, you would think, would be Wendy, the ex-wife. You would. If I were Wendy, I would not be buying green bananas right now. You never know when... B.B. Rebozo and Richard Nixon line for those who are too young to realize that one. Wendy there's been a lot of focus on her, but it looks like the family tried to keep her out of it, but there is evidence against her. In fact, the prosecution tipped their hand and made this case a bit about Wendy. They showed evidence we didn't know before. Like, for example, did you know that Donna, the now convicted mother-in-law, she had Danny, the victim's make, model of his car, and his license plate in her day planner from the year 2014, which was 2 years after the divorce. Why would the ex-mother-in-law have Danny's license plate in her day planner? And who would give that license plate information to her. Remember, the killers followed Danny from the gym, tailed his car, and then went up to him when he arrived home and shot him in the head. I knew Danny. He was a great guy. No one deserves his fate. But when you know how Danny loved his kids so much, it just compounds the tragedy.
Oh, my gosh. That's a good point. And yeah, we learned some of these points because the defense, Donna's defense, started to kind of point the finger at Wendy, which showed their desperation because so far the mother seems to have been running cover for Wendy. The mother appears to have killed for Wendy. And herself, because she wanted more access to her grandkids. That's at least what the jury has said, that she's the grandmother of the two boys. She's the mother of Wendy. Donna went down. And it wasn't that tough, Jonna, because once we saw the video of Donna fleeing and the cops tracking her down at the airport and arresting her, it was like, who flees? I guess you could flee if you just thought you were going to be convicted and you were innocent, but the video was quite damning.
Well, who else? Who wouldn't want a one-way ticket to Vietnam for a little R&R? Maybe some spa days there, Megyn, because her excuse was, well, that's why I was going. I was going because I just needed to get away from all this media. I didn't know when I was going to come back. So she buys a one-way ticket to a country with no extradition policy with the United States because she just wanted to relax. Nobody bought it. The jury didn't buy it. And that was, obviously an attempt for her to get out of Dodge, and it's consciousness of guilt. And the jury was not fooled, I don't think, for a second by anything the defense put up. And I don't like criticizing other attorneys, but what defense was there, really? If we reanalyze it now, there wasn't much of a defense. This was kind of a week long of just sort of shuffling along and hoping that some juror was going to have some sort of sympathy for this granny. And they obviously didn't. Not only didn't they, but they basically broke a land speed record and getting to a guilty verdict on all the charges.
Yes, Ashley Merchant of Fannie Willis fame is also part of MK True Crime. And she was making this point. She's like you guys, an active trial attorney, and was making the point of how she would have cross-examined the state's investigator who did take the stand. You got a law enforcement officer up there. That's a person through whom you can exploit weaknesses in the state's case. And she did a little diatribe on how she would have done it. Here it is. It's quick. SOT 40.
We don't really have a theme. Why not ask, isn't it true you don't have any physical evidence linking Donna Adelson to this crime? Isn't it true you don't have any forensic evidence? Isn't it true you don't have any eyewitness testimony? Isn't it true you don't have a confession? Isn't it true you don't have fingerprints? You don't have DNA? You don't have any of that stuff. Why not hammer him with that?
That's not how it went in the end. And I will say the defense attorney, Jackie Fulford, I'll let the audience be the judge. Here's SOT 45.
Not one single thing that said anything about wanting Danny Markell killed. The most aggressive thing they have are her foul words and wanting to aggravate him. This is not, could she possibly have done it? Could she probably have done it? Might she have done it? You have been sitting here hearing testimony for almost 2 weeks, and there's not a single piece of evidence that connects my client to that murder. Charlie Adelson? Yep. Potentially Wendy Adelson? She's the one who said she hated him. She's the one fighting with him in court. Donna Adelson? Nothing. Not a single piece of evidence. You have to find her not guilty because they have failed to do their job.
The problem for her there, Dave, is that wasn't true.
Right. I mean, you had a undercover conversation between Donna and her son after there was this bump. So they had this undercover officer essentially bump into Donna and demand money to take care of one of the killers. This was an FBI agent. This was trying to generate chatter over the phone. The first thing she does is call her son Charlie, not police. Didn't throw away the paper. Nope, you call your son Charlie. And when Charlie said, "What's this about?" she said, "It's about the both of us." Wow. The FBI agent did not even mention Charlie in the conversation. It's about the both of us, meaning Charlie, who's been convicted of the murder. And so that's a confession. That's direct evidence. And then, of course, you have the license plate. And no, the lawyer is right. You don't have her saying, we need to kill Danny Markel. Let's kill him. That's not how the real world works. She spoke in code the entire time. Who speaks in code, Megyn, except for people who are guilty? Why speak in code? They kept using this phrase, the TV. That's how they referred to the murder. Ironically, it's the TV that was broken on the day of the murder that is Wendy's alibi. She had a TV repairman come over to fix her TV, as if repairmen for TVs are really a thing. I mean, don't you just buy a new TV? No one does that.
No one does that. I know. Yeah, honestly, I've been poor and I've had money, and you don't call a TV repairman. It's not a thing. You lament the loss of your television and you suck it up and find a way to buy a new one. Here is the prosecutor making this point about talking in code. Contrary to the defense's argument that there's absolutely no evidence tying her to this crime, you're right. What innocent person sounds like this? SOT 44, I think. Yeah. No, sorry, 43.
This TV was probably about 5. She's the original code talker. This TV, and look what he says. Well, they asked you for $5,000. He decodes it. He's not the one talking in code. He's decoding it and saying what he's picking up what she's putting down. There's no TV mentioned by the undercover operative that approached Donna Adelson on the street. A couple big takeaways for you, please. Innocent people do not talk in code. Second big takeaway, TV is code for the murder throughout this case.
Okay, Jonna, she's making a good point, but it's very frustrating, right? As somebody who's actually tried cases, isn't it frustrating to see somebody talking to the jury like that? So stilted, so halting, like make a passionate argument without looking at your notes. Tell them a story. Have a crescendo and a decrescendo. It's just, I can't stand when I see lawyers talking like that.
It's a little bit lazy when you have to refer to your notes. She could have said something a little more, I don't know, upbeat. Like, I guess Donna didn't learn in murder for hire school that if you're going to talk in code, both of you need to talk in code instead of having the person who's receiving your code decoding it on your call, right? I mean, it's just kind of crazy. And maybe she could have done that because it is so ridiculous. There's no getting around the fact that she talked in code. The defense didn't do anything with that. They just kind of left it alone. So it was actually a major point that Donna Adelson's team could not talk her out of. And I have to go back to the other shot that you showed when her defense attorney was closing and saying, look, there's not a single piece of evidence tying her to the crime. She was right. There were 100 pieces of evidence tying her to this crime.
Yeah, that's the problem. Like, that works if it's true. If it's one of those cases where it's like really made up, it's thin air. But this case had a lot of proof tying Donna Adelson to the crime, and the jury totally got it. So that leads us to Wendy. I'll just show you a clip of Wendy, members of the audience, so that you can see who we're talking about, but she's next. Here's the wife.
He's not here to give them advice.
He is not.
He can't come to any of their functions, sports, anything else.
Correct.
They're not eating kosher like they would have with their father.
They are not.
They don't have him at all.
They don't have him in their lives day to day, no.
Because on July the 18th of 2014, he was brutally murdered in his driveway. Isn't that true?
That is true.
And you testified on direct that anybody in your family that had anything to do with it should be held responsible. Isn't that correct?
Yes.
And that includes you, doesn't it?
Anyone who's responsible.
Interestingly there, Dave, that was the defense. Right. So it's her mother's lawyer doing that cross-examination of her. And honestly, that's what's so galling about these murder-for-hire plots when they're orchestrated by the spouse, which I believe this one was. I think Wendy's going down. These people don't think about, or they just don't care about the consequences to their shared children. They're so selfish. They just want the children all to themselves. They want all the child rearing. They don't have to share custody. And they don't think about what the loss of one's father. I mean, I lost my dad at 15 to a heart attack, not to a murder. You know, this was preventable. This didn't have to happen. It's the most callous, like sociopathic thing one can do. So there she is with their blonde hair, perfectly coiffed, and all her makeup on, trying to look, oh, I'm so attractive, and I didn't have anything to do with this. I give it 3 years. Let's see how she looks after she's been behind bars and in an orange jumpsuit for a year. We'll check back in then. Your thoughts on when and if they're bringing charges and whether she's likely to withstand them.
Oh, she's not going to do well behind bars. She's got a good legal team that has been part of her entourage so far, including one of President Trump's former lawyers. But her day of reckoning is coming. And I do believe that at the next grand jury in Tallahassee, that Georgia Kaplan, the prosecutor, will go before that grand jury and seek an indictment against Wendi for first-degree murder. I think it's pretty much inevitable at this point. And you're right. That defense lawyer was the one asking those questions, those hostile questions. What a family, huh? This divided family. And what's curious is that the defense really didn't have a strategy. For most of the cross-examination of Wendi, who testified under immunity, the defense lawyer was very supportive and friendly to her, and then turned on a switch, and then at the end went after her. So it's like, okay, are you friend? Are you foe? What's your strategy? What's your theory of the case? They were all discombobulated. I don't think it was well lawyered by Donna's defense lawyers, but they were dealing with the crap that they were given.
When inflation jumps, when you hear the national debt is over $37 trillion, do you ever think maybe now would be a good time to buy some gold? Well, you'd be right. Whether as a hedge against inflation, peace of mind during global instability, or just for sensible diversification, Birch Gold Group believes every American should own physical gold. And so they created something special. Until September 30th, if you're a first-time gold buyer, Birch Gold is offering a rebate of up to $10,000 in free metals on qualifying purchases. To claim eligibility and start the process, request an info kit right now. Just text MK to 989898. Plus, Birch Gold can help you roll an existing IRA or 401k into an IRA in gold, and you're still eligible for a rebate in free metals of up to $10,000. So make right now your first time to buy gold and take advantage of a rebate up to $10,000 when you buy before September 30th. Text MK to the number 989898 to claim your eligibility and get your free info kit. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.